welcome back to Among the Scholars for our second episode. This is Silverthorns. Kept my job. It's a great day for everybody. I'm joined by the host, Mcfaithful. Mcfaithful, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'll tell you what. There was a crowd of people who were rooting for Artie to be here for episode 2, but I stood strong. I said Silver earned another at bat here, so I think your spot on the podcast is safe here on in.
Yeah, I don't know if it hurt worse realizing one, you should never read the comments, but two, understanding that these comments are all coming from the guild. So I was like, oh.
Oh well, absolutely, Silverthorns,
Oh
absolutely.
my gosh, we're gonna fix that. I'm going for zero absolutely's this podcast. None of it's gonna happen.
for
But I
those
was
for those who
also,
didn't catch the first episode, you should go back, and a fun drinking game would be to count how many times that Silverthorn says absolutely in episode 1. You'll be very drunk by the end of it, but I fixed it. I sat him down, I made him listen to the whole thing and count them himself, so he knows. He's well aware.
yeah, I had to expand my verbatim on those a little bit. Got to pick a different word. But no, I was checking the feedback, seeing if we had any comments, questions, or anything. Nothing. Nobody commented on the amount of times I used absolutely. Nothing. Or how epic the intro and the outro music is. Like I listen to that on a daily now. I might have been like 100 of the viewers watching our
That's
first
yeah,
episode
that
just
that
for that alone.
the intro and outro music made Silver's gym playlist. He's pumping iron to that.
Oh, 100%. It's just on repeat. No need for anything else.
That's good. That was your
But
first test, though. 100% is absolutely standard for episode 2. I like it.
there you go. Here we go. No, but we were before we started we were discussing, we have a lot coming up. We got Nax coming up in like 40 some odd days. I think the big thing people are looking forward to, which we were just talking about, was TBC. And I never experienced TBC in any era or any time it was released, never played it. So I know you were a big fan of it, and I was hoping maybe you could like describe maybe some of your favorite things about TBC and perhaps give some information on people who have never gone into it of what to expect, what to focus on, and how to push forward.
Yeah, so I mean, TBC obviously has a lot of nostalgia, I think, for all of us, right? And for me, the biggest thing that comes with TBC, not just new content, is so much of it is quality of life improvements, right? So guild bank, instant mail between guild members. I was just talking to Dinsdale this morning about the idea that, you know, us ranged folks that aren't in the middle of all the fights almost never have unit frames available to health track mobs without clicking through because of the it's such a small range. So like, there's a lot of quality of life stuff that I'm really looking forward for TBC, because we'll have some of those benefits. But when you talk about the expansion, I think most people think towards the content itself and what's on the horizon. And I think Karazhan is one of those things that marks kind of the beginning of a new era more than anything else. There's something really special about the first primary content as a 10 man run, and that raid was just so well done. The types of encounters that you get to experience so early on, that's really accessible to anybody who's looking to raid. The opera fight where you can go and act out different plays. There's the Wizard of Oz. There's Little Red Riding Hood, and each one of
Oh my
those
gosh.
is a fight that you can pull a random chance to fight your way through one of those plays in the opera house scene. Or there's literally a chessboard with kind of World of Warcraft themed chess pieces, and your raid is playing as the chess pieces. And so it's the beginning of, in my mind, Blizzard kind of expanding what it means to be, doing raiding content, and adds a lot of excitement to PvE. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to be excited about now and raiding in vanilla classic content, but the the level of detail and the intricacy really kind of pops off in TBC, and that's what I'm kind of looking forward to personally. So I think you'll love it too. Honestly, this is a great time, a great community to be involved with. TBC is still really impacted by the people you're playing with, so being involved in the guild and the fact that the guild is going to move over to TBC as a single unit with plans to hit the ground is going to be really important. Um, but we'll be doing a lot of that work too when professors and preceptors and I get together in person come November, hopefully.
Oh man, I mean, the only things I've heard from it has been all through Adept Scholars. Like I'm hearing like no world buffs, paladins, and tanking bears are gonna finally hit the ground running. So I've only picked up tidbit pieces here and there, but honestly, if I wasn't with the Adept Scholars Society, I'm not putting us on a pedestal. I swear I'm not trying to do that. But if it wasn't for this guild, I probably would be done after vanilla once again. So I'm excited to push through this and see this. Well, for me, it's going to be brand new content for me. So hopefully someone's willing to hold my hand for a little bit getting up there. But you speak of working with professors and preceptors in person in November, which I think is a good time to talk about ScholarCon. Or, I think you were trying to reserve it as AskCon. I think that was the big thing.
So I think the community. I'm not sure I was the driving force
I'm pretty sure
behind
you were the
putting
driving
this.
force behind AskCon.
No, I'm not sure I'm willing to take that on, but I will say, unfortunately, to those who were really rooting for this thing to be called AskCon, I have bad news. There's another industry that utilizes that moniker, so we're gonna have to settle for ScholarCon, I think, if we're moving forward with that. And I just put out a post, yeah, a couple days ago in a depth chat, trying to get kind of a head count of people who are interested in coming up to the Northeast to participate and kind of get to meet some folks from the guild. We'll kind of have one day of kind of events set up for everybody. I'm hoping professors uh, and preceptors, if those folks are available, the Friday night before, we're going to try and get together and do some kind of leadership summit. And do some prep for TBC that we can then present to folks the next day, talk about kind of what it was like going through that. But then the main day, it'll be meet and greet, get together, get to kind of socialize amongst all the different folks, hopefully from a bunch of different raid teams, get to meet in person, and then have some programming relative to the guild. Make it kind of a little professional development, but also a fun time that people can kind of get together and talk with one another and get a little bit, a little further involved in the community that we created. So a lot of excitement with that. I know. Um, that we've got a fair number of people who are already signed up and ready, willing, and able to come down, and a few people who are, once we release more details, we'll see if they can swing it. Obviously, right now, until I put out the final itinerary and the final list of information that people need. Obviously, folks shouldn't go and book some non-refundable flight or Airbnb or anything like that. But within the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping to have information on ScholarCon posted in the Discord so that we can get a final head count and have people here. One thing is that I'll mention is we're not looking I'm not looking certainly to make anything off of this. What we ask people to contribute will be just what we need to have the thing put on and to do so in a way that's enjoyable for everybody. If we run ahead on that, I'll send a pro rata share back to everybody else. But this is really just about getting together, enjoying people's company. Uh, working on the game a little bit so that we're not, under pressure to become best friends and talk about real life. The game is the thing that unites us. So it should be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. Are you planning on coming to ScholarCon, Silver?
I am. I have to get approval first because I can't fly solo like that anymore.
That's
But
fair.
I'm pretty sure she's on board with me getting out of the house. I think it'll be fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well,
I
hopefully we'll
also
see you there.
I also shouldn't have put it past you that you would actually turn this into like a business adventure type of deal, like the pre-game to ScholarCon.
Well, yeah. Listen, we get just like when we're up in Professor Chat, doing all the work. I can't let you guys come here and not leave you on the clock. We're gonna have some planning. I've already got the big cork board set up with all of our raid teams and players, so we can do draft day for TBC planning. It'll be right around the corner at that point, so we'll have some work to do.
That is that is awesome. I mean, even if it sounds like work, obviously this is all something we enjoy doing, so I think we can get past that work aspect of it. But I mean, I'm excited. I've only done that like once, and this was like years ago when I was playing Rainbow Six Vegas 2. It's like
Okay.
way back in the day. I was playing that hard to the point where it was like, clan versus clan, and we had a big get together in Stockton. Like probably the worst place to have a get together, but that just, happened to be where the majority was. But no, I mean, I had a terrific experience doing that when I was younger. So to do this, as an adult with a, kind of a better head on my shoulders, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think the people who are going to attend are going to just have just as much fun. So hopefully we get, a big turnout. I'm excited to meet just about everybody from Adept Scholars Society.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And obviously, for people who are interested, there's a more detailed post in the Discord, in the announcements channel. If you scroll up, I posted a little while back about kind of details on that. So you can take a look and see what there's there. Like I said, we'll put out another announcement that'll be kind of like the final word on it, so you know what you should be looking for, where you should be looking for it, and kind of the ballpark pricing of getting up here and plane tickets, all the rest of it. I know people are going to be traveling from around. So with that, all that being said, lot to look forward to on the horizon, certainly, with ScholarCon coming up, and we're still not lighting it up though. We got plenty to do in game beforehand.
We do. We do. And saying that, big shout out to RT2 for down in Cthulhu.
And
Well done.
RT5. And RT5.
RT5?
Yes,
There
yes,
you go.
RT5
Look at
and
that. I'm
RT2.
keeping
So,
track here and there, I promise. Again, I bleed RT3, loyal to the team. So 99% of my focus is on them. The 1% is trying to figure out how to down Oro. that's where that navigated 1%'s at right now.
yeah, well, you and Dordan had an interesting week, right? No, Bolthar was on vacation this past week, so RT3 had a split leadership unit
Yep.
with you two at the helm, so that must have been fun for you guys to get to experience.
Fun is one way to put it. Absolutely. Oh, I almost said it. I almost said it. I
Oh, good
didn't though.
catch, good
Almost
catch.
caught myself. Caught it. Caught it. But no, I think both are. He had a well-deserved vacation, and
That's
it
a
was just
that's a half a shot for anybody who's
it's
playing
a
the game at
half a
home.
shot. There you
Yeah.
go. Just a little one. Um, but I think it was good for him, and obviously for him to be able to rely on Dordan and myself to carry on for the week and into the weekend. It was just to show him like even if he needs to step away, we got this. Um, Big shout out to Dordan. He had to handle all the loot. That was his job going into the weekend, was filling up his bags this time.
Yeah.
And it kind of has me wanting to transition to like loot council talks. I know you have videos on that, and
Yep.
with Bolthar, Dordan, and myself, we're all on RT3's loot council. It goes pretty smoothly. I don't think people understand the preparation loot councils go through prior to even going through raid to set the standard of like what needs to happen, what items we're truly on the lookout for, and how this is going to be like appropriately dispersed. I know we have the 4 factors. I know you got your, onboarding videos. Maybe you could
Yeah.
just talk a little bit more now that we have people here for the next 15 or so minutes. Just
Yeah.
give them an insight on how that should go down.
So I think that I mean, and honestly, I don't think it'll take me nearly that long to kind of give them the insight. But I want to mention too. You mentioned both are going on his well-deserved vacation. A funny thing is that on Raid Team One, our assistant raid leader Stones was on vacation this last 2 weeks as well, and so we just had a meeting this morning. He, Dins, and I, Dinsdale, we were all kind of getting together and just kind of recapping where Raid Team One was, how the week had gone, or the 2 weeks had gone while he was gone. You know what needed to be done. You know, just kind of doing a
Yep.
little bit of a debrief on the last 2 weeks when he was out. And he said to me, he's like, it's really great that, you know, where we're going to keep going into different expansions where this guild has the legs to go the distance, that we're in a position that I can go on a vacation for 2 weeks and not have to worry or be hounded about the game and what's going on. And it was something that really kind of stuck out to me that I just wanted to flag. Number one, thanks Stones, that was a nice thing to say. Number two, though, I think it's really important to take a second as we're getting through the end of summer and recognize that, people have been on trips, people have needed to take time away, people might have stuff scheduled still coming up the rest of the time. You know, one thing that I'm really proud of this guild, and this isn't don't take this as my permission to just start calling out willy-nilly, but when you've got something that comes up on a given week, we're totally fine with you taking some time off. The biggest thing is the communication aspect for that, and and then not abusing that, right? Because that's the other half. And you're the attendance rate leader,
Yeah.
so I'm sure you know more than anything.
Yep.
We know the people who are calling out. This data is all tracked. We know the people who are calling out. We can see literally your percentage of attendance since you joined the team. It's all information that we have. But for
Yep.
people who aren't abusing it, that luxury is not afforded in a lot of places where, you can't have a real life event come up and say, hey, the next 3 weeks I'm not going to be able to make it. I understand you have to move us off the team. We've had people come up to us and we say, no, we have benches. We'll cover you the next 3 weeks. Come back when you're done. And it's something I'm really proud that we've done. It works it works because of our bench system. It works because people don't abuse it by and large. So big
Yep.
thank you to everybody involved in all parts of this community that let even me. I took a vacation. I was gone for 3 raiding days on a
How
vacation
dare
in
you?
June. I know. It was a little. I was pushing the envelope a little bit, okay. But and then I just had to take a week off in at the end of July. So it's really exceptional. What we've kind of built in the system now puts us in a position where people can take that time off without the headache, without worried about whether their spot's going to be in jeopardy. So um, thank you again for all of that. But you were talking about Loot Council. I do want to make sure that we talk about the Loot Council. First things first, and you did mention it, we have a Loot Council video out. It's like less than 10 minutes long. I think it's like 8:45 or something like that. It would take you very little time to watch it. I tried to make it kind of entertaining. I think I did. Um,
I
watch that
I
video.
laughed at the part where he was like, "Why the bleep am I not getting
Yeah.
anything?"
Yeah, all of those were direct quotes, by the way, from people. I've literally had. We did in I think it was the May guild meeting. I think it was May. We did a whole segment. Our rating segment at the end was a whole segment on loot council etiquette, and I played a game with people in the guild called Instead of Try, and the whole idea was I gave people quotes, literal quotes that people had said to me or to other raid leaders regarding loot, and then I gave them alternative options on how to approach their loot council and like actually appropriate and not incredibly rude ways of addressing their loot council members when they had issues
Absolutely.
with
Yeah.
loot. Oh,
Fantastic.
uh,
I
ca-
know.
ca-
It's slip.
oh,
I'm like at the halfway mark with that word, right? It starts to go. My brain's like, reel it back.
it's like a tick almost that you
It's
working
really
through here.
bad. It's so bad. So that's a full shot up to this point if you're watching.
Yes. I'm gonna have to add a graphic onto the screen, right? As Silverthorns absolutely counter for the episode. Um, but anyway, so if you watch that video, watch the May meeting. The loot council etiquette part is great. But if you want a real primer on how our loot system works, that loot council video is the place to do it. Obviously, you talked about the 4 factors. Every professor in the strategic planning department, that's every raid leader and assistant raid leader, as well as our 2 raid coordinators, Vanilla and Fat Dumps, can recite to you those 4 factors as if it was a party trick. It is Where does loot do the most good? Who gives you a cause for concern? Where's the item the biggest upgrade? And participation in guild outside of the raid. Those are not those are all weighted factors, so the higher on the list, the earlier I just said it in that list, the more important it is. So where does the gear do the most good? Obviously, most weighted factor, and goes down from there. And so one thing that you mentioned, like, I mean, you're newer to Loot Council, right? You just got your promotion about a month ago, right?
Yep.
And so I'd be curious to ask your perspective. Does Loot Council take more to prepare for than you anticipated when you signed up to be an assistant raid leader?
It's so when I first, because they allowed me to sit through and pretty much kind of observe and witness how it was. So it was Bolthar, Dordan, and Galamera for Raid Team 3 until Galamera could take the step back and I'd fill in for him.
Yep.
It's a lot easier than I thought it would be just because of the systems that are laid out. Um, the Loot Council meeting ahead of time to going into the raid weekend lessens that stress as well as time getting out that loot to the team members.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I would ask is just have a little bit of patience and a little bit of respect for the people that are trying to run this loot council properly, because we go into it with no bias toward anyone. Like there's not one like we don't play favorites with anybody. That's what I enjoy the most about this loot council. There's no favorites. It's literally basing all our items and listings off the four factors and moving forward with those choices.
Yeah, and part of that too is, and the reason why this system works really well, and something I didn't necessarily address in the Loot Council video that might be worth a mention here is, the systems that you just mentioned are all in place. They're all, phenomenal tools to make sure that we're on the right track, right? But then moving on from that, there's a backstop of accountability to me, right? That exists for all of our raid teams. Like, I'm able to see all of the things you're doing, all of your spreadsheets, all of, I will audit those loot councils regularly and sit in on the conversations that our team's loot councils are having, and so even if people were concerned that a loot council gone rogue, I'm still here serving in my capacity as Guildmaster, right, to look on and say, hey, this is a concern that I have. Let's make sure we're addressing that. This is how we stay on the right track and stay true to kind of our principles of loot and what we're looking to have when we distribute items. And so, to date, really no big loot drama in Adept Scholars Society. I say that knocking furiously on a wood.
Yeah,
Not
please
to
don't
jinx,
jinx it for
not to
me.
jinx it. Yep. But realistically, the biggest thing when loot issues come up is having the presence of mind to stay calm, maybe take a night, sit with it, see if it's actually a problem or if you're just upset you didn't get your piece, and then from there just reaching out kindly and asking if you could get some more information. And almost all of the time, loot councils will, number one, say yes, and number two, offer a really thorough explanation of why a piece went where it did. And most of the time, people leave going, I wish I'd got the piece, but yeah, that makes sense, which is about
Yep.
all you can ask.
So, not to toot my own horn, I don't think we had any issues this weekend. For the most part, again, like you said, I don't think loot council or loot being distributed has been a huge issue across Adept Scholar Society. The one thing that I appreciated, and I think most people, I mean, you either love it or hate it, is going to be the 60 upgrades and the that's my bis requirement for you to raid, and that's
Yeah,
including benchers.
right.
And I don't think they realize just how impactful that list is, because obviously, where else are we going to be drawing your wish list from?
Oh
I
yeah,
just wanted to, yeah,
yeah, I mean, just a word on that. So like, that's my bis. Is honestly, I'm not sure we could as confidently do what we do without it. So for those who have made an account, if you're rating with us or if you haven't, that's my bis is the tracker, the historical tracker that shows you where who's gotten what piece when they got it, and as well as tracks their wish list. For us, it is the centerpiece of almost every loot council meeting. So we're looking at historically what our raid members have received for loot. We're reviewing wish lists and what items people are targeting in our raid teams. We're looking at that as a by the by each boss breakdown. We're looking at that kind of holistically across all raids for all content. And this is what's the most time consuming from a loot council perspective, right? Is that prep meeting for your week ahead, and then the fact that you have to do that, but not know what's going to drop week to week. But TMB itself
Yeah.
is our primary tool in coordinating what's going where for each raid team. So it's really important that everybody has that account set up, and it's a requirement to raid. You have to have a TMB account, and
Yes, you
it's a
do.
requirement for bench raiders to have that as well, because we like to track, how much gear our bench players are getting, because, and I think we wanted to talk about this too, is, bench players are eligible for gear. Obviously
100%.
sometimes bench players for big items have trouble getting past factor 1 for loot council, right? Because where does the item do the most good for the team? It's often not on somebody who may not be raiding with the team regularly. But besides that, after you start getting, past factor 1 and into other considerations, very often, raid teams love to reward their bench players with really solid pieces, and to say thank you, because, people filling in spots, like raid team 1 was down 5 people last week, and some
Oof.
people who had been with us benching, we had a mage who got a mind quickening gem, gave Nef head to our feral druid Phil, who'd been with us a couple weeks in roles, and as well as I think the Karaji regalia. So we want to say thank you to people who are helping, and so we want benches to be able to get loot, but we also want to track all of that, right? So that brings you back. That's
Yeah.
why benches
Yeah.
have to have That's My BIS as well. So I love the site. I had not used it before Adept Scholars Society. This was something I think Minari had found, and had kind of pitched as a way to supplement our loot council. We used to do it all manually. So when I
Oof.
found it and got familiar with it, it really was an awesome addition, I think, for us. So it's been cool to use and really get into the weeds on it. But yeah, so that's why we use it. And 60 upgrades just helps you create a wish list and track gear. So I think one of the things that we had talked about before was, just because it's showing you what your best in slot is for this phase, especially in 60 upgrades, you can click the item and see past phase gear as well, and see what the relative equivalency points are, so that like, hey, if I'm in BWL and something else drops, maybe it's like a half a point difference in EP value from the best in slot thing you could get in AQ. Having that knowledge of what alternative BIS or close close upgrades and stuff like that is really important. So I think that those are two tools that folks should definitely be taking advantage of. And just as a callback to when we were talking about loot council questions, comments, concerns, stuff like that, it's really important that if you do have a concern about loot, that you take the time and go look at your That's My BIS. So people think that it's been 7 weeks since they got a piece of gear. In reality, it was 3 weeks. Go look at your That's My BIS. People are saying, oh, I should be next up for X piece, but then didn't realize that another person hadn't gotten it. So again, go look at That's My BIS. It's all public information. But I think that covered a lot of what we were looking to talk about on that front.
Oh yeah, that was very insightful, very informative.
Comprehensive.
It was
That's right.
like I think you went a little bit more in depth than I was thinking, but that was pretty good. No, I'm one of those who probably could attest to 60 upgrades and just how easy it is. Granted, don't when I first got onto Raid Team 3, I had no idea what I was doing. They were just like, I need you to fill this out. I'm like, cool. So I just auto-populated everything because I was deep prot at the time for Raid Team 3. So I just auto-populated all deep prot. I was like, just give me everything damage mitigation.
Yeah.
Now that I've gotten a little more comfortable with it, I would advise everybody to research the gear. 60 upgrades will give you a great oversight of what you need, don't let that be your one source. Like Wowhead's a terrific source. Loonbiss add-on is another terrific source that I've used to compare and contrast what items I needed. Just take the time, put some, like, it's a 5 minute effort just to do a little bit of research on your gear, so that way when it comes time for you to get what you're looking for, you're in the wheelhouse to get it.
Yeah, and also keep in mind where a lot of items in AQ are token-based items. It's really important, and I noticed this happening a couple of times. If you have an item on your wish list for the current phase and you're passing on the token, it's a very bad signal to your loot council that you're not particularly attuned to your own gear and your gearing needs. So please be mindful that you look up what the precursor token is to some of your BIS items, because if you're passing on that when loot's going out, it's some big red flags to your loot council members.
I'd also advise putting in the notes what your rep is at for phase 5. That helps tremendously with
Sure, yep.
understanding how far people are away from actually getting it, or if they're ready to get it right then and there.
Helps to do that with
So
requisitions as well, which I know we talked about in the last episode a little bit.
I love requisitions. Love
No, we're
them.
not. That's it. That's actually that's
No.
a word. No, that's the requisitions
So,
is the new R word in Adept Scholar Society.
oh no. So we talk about how loot isn't really an issue amongst Adept Scholar Society, or if it is, they're being brought up to the proper channels or people are sleeping on it. But that's not to say Adept Scholar Society is free of drama. Like it's gonna happen with the amount of people we have. Personalities clash, conversations get a little bit out of hand. And I think we kind of wanted to cover briefly the arguments in the guild chat and the discords we've observed here and there. And if you wanted to take a little, time to brief that.
Yeah, sure. Well, and listen, we lost somebody to this issue over the last week, so it's probably worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. Adept Scholar Society is free of big ticket drama. Like we have nothing going on that most guilds suffer from. I mean, we've got a pretty peaceful coexistence set up here, which is it's really helpful because if this guild was this big, this intricate, this much going on, and we had to deal with actual big ticket nonsense, I don't know we'd be able to keep it up. So definitely hasn't been anything major. There's been some Mickey Mouse stuff that's popped up though
I
here and
like that.
there. She pulled my hair, he hurt my feelings, he
Some grade
kicked
school
me,
stuff.
he punched me in the arm. That's the kind of stuff that we're dealing with if we're dealing with anything, which is basically things that I just roll my eyes at, but we still have to handle when it comes up. So here's my short form version of fix your shit. Okay, if you're not happy with somebody, if somebody upsets you, here's what you don't do. You don't hash it out in guild chat. You don't hash it out in a Discord public channel. Okay, that's going to get everybody involved yelled at, whether you think you're in the right and they're in the wrong or whatever, or they were mean to you first and you're just defending yourself. If I see two people arguing in guild chat, you're immediately both doing something wrong. You're going to get yelled at. Doesn't matter. Full stop. The end.
Love
So
it.
so here's what you should do. Try and resolve it with them privately. If you can't, you can talk to an officer. We can step in. It doesn't mean the other person's going to get kicked out, but here's the backstop to it all. The game is equipped with 100 different ways to limit the people you're required to socialize. There's ignore features. You cannot pay attention to things people say. There's 100 ways you can go about limiting your social circle that you're involved with. If you're on your raid team, I can't help you with that. You're going to have to figure that one out. But absent somebody violating our community standards, we're not probably going to end up G-kicking them just because you got into a fight with them. But the worst thing you can do is just have this out in person. Now, that's not
Yeah.
to say that we won't remove people for being stupid. It's happened. um, and I would take this opportunity to suggest everybody go into the server guide and go into the guild rules and ranks page and read through our community standards and make sure that they're very clear on what it is that we require. But it doesn't happen often that people have it out in guild chat or publicly in Discord, but every time that it happens, it leads to me having to crack everyone's head together and go, stop being stupid. You're by and by adults, for God's sake. Go into your DMs, go into a whisper, work it out, or at least leave it in a place where 100 and something other people don't have to spectate it. You know, this isn't the gladiator arena. No one wants to see this. You know, it's just obnoxious. So that's my high level spiel about how you should handle people being stupid. It's probably really good advice in life that if you're making a spectacle out of your disagreements, something's gone terribly wrong. So keep that in mind generally as life advice from me to you. But certainly in this guild, you're not going to get far if that's how you're handling dispute resolution. If you need help with dispute resolution, as I said, you're more than welcome to message a professor, preceptor, or I, and we would absolutely be willing to help you.
Dang, that was whew, that was pretty good. I was just gonna say some people suck and not everybody's gonna get along with everybody. Like that's just my thing. Like the ignore button is there for a reason.
Yeah,
Don't go like, wild wild west with it and start ignoring like 90% of the guild. But if it's a absolute crap. Well, I mean that makes sense. If it's an absolute issue with somebody, just
I won't count
ignore,
that. I
bring it
won't count
up.
that.
All right. But again, like I say some people suck. Obviously, if you come to me, I'll be a little bit more professional about it. But this is just supposed to be a fun podcast. So, Mcfaithful's here for all like the business worded professionalism. I'm just here to support.
Yeah,
And
that's about
speaking of
right.
that, and speaking of supporting Mcfaithful in this podcast, I think you did say we do have a special guest joining us tonight.
So, as many of you know, every month at our guild meeting on the third Wednesday of the month, we give out the biggest ass award, the biggest Adept Scholar standout. And so this month, the July to August recipient was Moonashen. And Silver and I thought it would be fun to have Moon come on and spend a couple minutes talking about his experience in the guild and what it means to him to win such a prestigious award. So, welcome, Moon.
Thank you so much for having me, fellas. It truly is an honor to win this prestigious award, and I'd like to thank every person in the guild who put me up for this award and voted for me. It really is an honor.
Absolutely. And one thing
That's my line. That's
I
my
know,
word. What are you doing?
I'm hoping by this point in the episode, Silver, you won't have used it, so no one will notice my one absolutely here. Um, for those who don't know, the process for the awarding of this honor, your fellow guildmates submit through the Google form a nomination. Tell us about why they believe that you have the kind of qualities and commitment to the guild worthy of this. And then once we go through, the preceptors vote on the monthly recipient. And so Moon, you might not have known this. I think I might have said it, but you were a unanimous selection between the preceptors and I. So 4 out of 4 votes for the month. But I think it just goes to show kind of the caliber of help and presence that you have in the guild.
Thank you, man. That truly does mean a lot. Hearing that, it's unanimous between all the preceptors. That is amazing.
So I know we do at the meeting that we did their little spiel about your favorite memory and what it means to be a member of the guild. So I guess for those who might have missed it, and now actually since I usually am the one that just reads the words, now it can be in your own voice here. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. If we're talking favorite guild memories, some of those would most definitely be the rank 14 grind. Funny enough, I know people will call you crazy for saying that. We all spent well over 100 hours back to back in just AV after AV, right? But this guild and this community we've formed in it made that an enjoyable and fun experience. I looked forward to clocking out of my day job and logging onto the game knowing I had 4 people waiting for me to fill out a 5-man Q&A every night. and we'd sit there and run all the way down, kill the lieutenants, camp a graveyard or two, sitting there with our buddy Galimera, either on his mage or his paladin Escanor, squad wiping the horde graveyard 3 or 4 times, and then running all the way down to kill Drek. Those are some of the best memories I have in this guild. Sitting there in the Discord call with everybody in my 5-man group, and then 3 or 4 other 5-man groups, to have almost a whole raid of people sitting in a call, just going through the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember that when AV first launched, I mean, it was all hands on deck, and we weren't requiring it. We were just, hey, does anybody want a pre-made AV? And it was just, I mean, even the first week or two, it was, like 10 groups going at one time. But I know as the people kind of locked in for the long haul on rank 14. There was a very common group that was always out there. It was fun to see. I was in it for a while, but then, I knew I wasn't going to go to rank 14 on my priest, and, other guild leadership duties kind of called. That was around the time I think we were putting together RT3 and potentially RT4, if I have my timeline right. But it was definitely cool. I think it was one of the first big game releases, content-wise, that kind of served as a bonding exercise. And I remember the day rank 14 dropped, and getting everybody together for that screenshot, of which you were a part of. It was such a cool experience to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing just how many people in the guild committed to that grind to go all the way to 14 and get those beautiful, beautiful weapons.
No, and I think Silver might have missed out on that part of the guild history here, but one part that I know he didn't miss out, that I think had very much the same effect, that you were a big and active part in, Moon, was the Scarab Lord, the bug farm.
Oh, the best times.
Oh, absolutely. My home. The bug tunnels. But I really think that AV was the proving ground and the building phase for what our guild proved we can do and what we're capable of in that bug farm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was. I think it's just been all uphill when it comes to kind of guild events like that and the coordination. But I know the bug farm was one thing you had talked about in the message we used for the guild meeting, and got some time in with Silver there, and a lot of new friends I think made along the way too.
Absolutely. That the bug farm, once again, just like the AV, people will say I'm crazy for saying I had one hell of a time doing it, but I really did. We had, as a guild, we had a raid group going 24/7 for the entire farm, essentially. The only reason it ever stopped was for the Tuesday weekly reset. Right,
Yep.
so it was Blizzard imposed. Groups drop.
Yeah, for maintenance in the morning. I remember. Yeah, I think it had gone from Thursday to Tuesday, never failing to have members. I know the night crew, there was like the same 20 people, or we got down to like 10, but then the morning crew would come in, pick it up, and by afternoon we're back at a full 40, cruising through the rest of the day, and it was Thursday to Tuesday. I know that maintenance screwed that up, but it was really cool. And
It
a
was.
lot of this too, you actually have a kind of a good perspective on this too, because much like myself, you've been in here since the early days. I think I checked before we started this. Your join date was like December, what was it, December 19th.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks after the guild started, as we go into month 10 of existence now, I think. So I mean, you've been here for the long haul. So what's your perspective looking like going as we're approaching the 1 year mark in November? What do you think? Year in review for Moonashen.
Man, crazy to think we're already in the territory to have a year in review, right? But it's been an amazing experience. It's been great to watch this guild truly blossom. When I joined, it was still relatively small. I mean, it was, we had a couple hundred members, and we were working towards getting Raid Team 1 up and running with the the definition that there would be a raid team 2 and the potential for future raid teams going forward, right? And I knew first and foremost that I had to get to 60 ASAP to be on that first raid team that starts, because that was my goal with this character and this server, was get in there and start going as soon as possible, with it being my my first run in Classic WoW.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you're talking to the raid leader, and I hit 60 the morning of our first Molten Core run on January 7th. I remember I was working so hard to recruit and get people up for the roster, and I had already had all my pre-raid bits. I was incredibly lucky with drops, and so I knew that I could stretch it out, because right, being 60, as long as you were in tune and had everything else, was like kind of last on the list. But it took me until that afternoon. I remember I hit it at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then after that I tried to take I think it was like the next 2-3 hours that I was just borrowing and stealing from anyone I could to try and get my True Faith vestments made. And I know Minari loaned me probably like 140 gold or something like that to get these robes crafted.
Oh yeah, what a good time. I had no idea what I was doing at that point. I was a night elf warrior without a lion heart and without edgies, walking into MC at that point.
So a lot of growth in the gear has happened since then.
Growth in the gear and the knowledge, most definitely, thanks to a lot of great people in the guild. Shout out to our main tank, Bolthar.
Yeah, I mean, you've come tremendous way. I mean, to being, I think, one of, or if not the top warrior in the guild now. I haven't checked the rankings in a bit, but I know you're up there.
I try to stay up there. I do. It's makes it fun, and our raid team helps make that easy. You know, we've got really good tanks, really good healers, and a very solid crew of DPS.
I know you're one of the people I always make sure I put Power Word Shield on when you're going down, my friend. I'm not gonna let you lose that Ren buff.
It flashes before my eyes every week.
Well, Silver, I want to bring you in here. You got, obviously some of this we're talking predates, I think, your membership in the guild. But what are you interested to find out from our biggest ass of the month?
Yeah, I think I was actually on the Night Slayer server while you guys were investing yourselves, and now I feel like I'm way behind and wishing I had just started over here rather than suffering in the PvP server. But no, so what I really want to know is, from the moment you were, inducted as the biggest ass of the month, prior to that, did you have any inkling that you were possibly in the running for it?
I mean, I had a small idea because, as Mcfaithful mentioned, the night crew. I like to joke with my IRL buddies that I told about the Scarab Farm that I was a quote unquote self-appointed night crew manager, because I was there almost every night of the bug farm, and we were a small but tight knit group after those days spent together in those bug tunnels. And one of our Scarab Lord recipients, Stabby McStab, was part of the night crew as well. He was holding it down, collecting the fragments for the future Scarab Lords every night. And he told me that
I was making him chase me in order to get the fragments off me. I had to make it a little game to keep people interested.
Got to keep the sanity somehow in the tunnels, right?
Yep.
But he had told me a couple times that he was going to put me up for the award, so I knew at least one person was voting for me. But in all honesty, I figured, it was going to be like 1, maybe 2 votes. I didn't think I was actually going to receive the award. So it was quite a shock and a huge honor to find out that I was actually the recipient of it.
No, and that's awesome to hear, and obviously well deserved. I have very vague memories from that because I was with most of the afternoon shift. And then Bolthar, Kikyo, all of them would start to dip out, and then you'd be coming along. Stabby would still be there. Lovely Moon would be joining us. And
shout out my pocket heals during the whole thing right there. Lovely.
Must
lovely
be so
Moon,
nice. I figured when you became a tank, that just naturally came with it. Apparently, that's not a thing. So
you gotta know how to treat a priest.
If anyone's like an open pocket healer, I am looking to hire for sure. But no, it was. I remember because you were so consistent on keeping conversation alive. When it was like 2 a.m., I was dying. I was just continuously blindly killing bugs, and yet you were still there, just talking and making sure everybody was like either invested or somewhat awake to laugh at the jokes you were saying. And I remember that the most because I had never, prior to that, I hadn't met anybody from RT1 or talked with really anybody from any of the other raid teams. And I think the Scarab Farm was the perfect opportunity for me to actually start meeting the majority of the guild that was invested in this for our Scarab Lords. And I'm really glad it happened because then I got to meet you. I got to meet Stabby. I got to meet everybody else that was joining us through the afternoons. I was never there in the early mornings because obviously if I'm there till like 2, 3 in the morning, I'm not going to be there in the morning. There's just no way I can wake up 2 hours later and be like, more bugs.
Absolutely. No, and I agree with you that the bug farm was a great, camaraderie building experience for the guild. You tend to kind of stay in your raid team bubble, right? Because you're all on the same raid schedule, so you can all run the same 20 mans, the same dungeons, and all that when you're not on your raid night. So it was nice to have everybody in one area doing the same thing and getting to meet a bunch of people from raid team 3, raid team 5, raid team 2 that I hadn't necessarily met before, and even raid team 4 as well.
Well, I think a lot of that's kind of you talked about AV before, and I think that's exactly. Yeah, I think it had the same effect on the community as the bug farm did. Honestly, I think everybody kind of grew a lot stronger, and I think that the great timing about the bug farm happening when it did is, we had such a large influx in membership that came in from the time rank 14 grind had ended until P5 launch, and so it was really nice that there was a really large contingent of folks that had come into the guild who then got to kind of experience that same culture and community building event.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It was an excellent experience, and I think it's made our guild so much closer than it was prior to the bug farm.
Well, and I know we will have talked about the guild meetup in this episode. So will we be seeing you there in November?
You will 100% be seeing me there, and you can guarantee I'll be in a Jets jersey. And as promised to RT1 a long time ago, the lavender sport coat will make an appearance.
Yep. Yeah, well, and I'm gonna need to see some Aussie headbanging, and we got a lot of expectations for when Moon shows up at the guild meetup. So
it's
very excited
gonna
to
be an
see you
event.
there.
I hope you're all prepared because I'll be at sea level drinking.
That's right. I know. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time to pop in here with us and share some of your thoughts and experiences, and want to say congratulations once again. I know when this airs, you'll have one more day as the biggest ass recipient. The guild meeting is this Wednesday, so we will crown another to take that role, but. Really appreciate everything you've done with the guild, for the guild, and we look forward to having you here for a long time to come.
Thank you so much. I just want to say how much of an honor it is and thank every person that proposed me for this prestigious award. And to my successor, congratulations and welcome to the ass family. The biggest ass family.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Moon. Take care.
Y'all have a good one.
Thanks for stopping by, Moonashen. And I'm looking at the time right now, and I think we're about wrapped up for tonight.
I think you're right. That's going to probably conclude episode 2 of Among the Scholars. I want to thank everybody who's been taking the time to listen, who subscribed to the channel in recent days, and look forward to recording episode 3 with you next week, Silver. So thanks again for helping out with this.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, Mcfaithful. And again, to everybody tuned in, if you're in the Discord, go to the links, apps, and resources page, fill out that podcast submission form. Whatever questions you have, whatever you want to get out to the public that's on your mind, we want to hear it. So thanks again for stopping by, everybody.